Okay. All right, we are live. Just give me a second here. I just want to get this tweeted out. I'm trying to find my. There we are. Okay, let's see. There. 1 second. And Bubblehead live. There we go. Okay, super prepared. All right, awesome. Well, I hope everybody had a blessed weekend and is getting ready, getting prepared to head into a brand new trading week, a full trading week. We've started the first quarter of the, we're in the second week of the new quarter. So last quarter actually went pretty well. It took the, hold on 1 second, my thinkorswim is getting a little funky here. Okay, so last quarter, if we go to the quarters, which is pretty interesting. Zoom. There we go. There it is. Yeah, if we go to last quarter, you can see it was one of the biggest quarters, biggest point move quarters ever. And but still, it was an inside quarter, and so we broke that that high here and had a nice move. So the high there was 28.60, and we pushed all the way up to 28.93. So nice 30-point move so far to start the quarter. Which is looking pretty good. If we go back to the daily here, I tweeted this out a little bit earlier, not quite this chart, but we're starting to get a little extended, right? So last time we tagged the this is the RSI down here. Last time we kind of got into the overbought territory, right? Where we closed above the upper Bollinger Band on the daily, and kind of following that, right? We had this huge down move, right? And then we paused with a doji day, spinning top, kind of came up, gave a little trickster move right here, and then then started to move back up. So interestingly enough, we have this Friday gave us this green bar day, right? But if you kind of zoom in here on the range, right? So the range here was only 10.25. I kind of went back and you even look at these small days, 11.54. This has been the narrowest range day in a very long time. Right, so you kind of go back, and you try to look for some sort of narrow range day, and you just don't see them like you see here, right? I mean, it's been a while. I mean, maybe over a year. Let's see, what was this? This was 8.54. So, and that was September of 2018. So, very long while. So over 6 months, right? We haven't seen such a narrow range. So it doesn't look like a narrow range because of the big green bar. But what that implies to me is that usually those type of contraction days usually lead to some sort of expansion, right? So this type of day here, 11.54, kind of pushed up the next day to 28, all the way up to 28.30, right? So it's a pretty big push, after that. So that's kind of what I'm expecting to see, over the next couple days is, a couple pushes. If we look, I have a, let's see on another chart here, I've drawn a trend line. And by the way, thank you to all new newsletter subscribers and previous newsletter subscribers. This came out in the newsletter today too. So, it's never too late to subscribe, positive-trends.com/newsletter.html. But anyway, we're pushing above, that's the weekly, we're pushing above here on the daily. That was a more extended trend line. But even the shorter term trend line here, kind of shows, if I go here to here, right? There's a little bit of move that it could potentially pull back and touch, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for, looking to potentially see, coming into this week. Of course, it is possible that we could just continue to scream to all-time highs, but usually I would expect like a little bit of a pullback. So just kind of don't be surprised if that does happen this week. So that kind of gives you the state of the market right now. I mean, we kind of, go pull up this huge line chart. We have our linear regression channel kind of coming up here. We're below it. We may, still push up to hit this, upper fib fan line, but I wouldn't be surprised if, we had that gap below. If it did make an attempt to try to fill that before it came up to hit the all-time highs. So, looking at our cycle brackets down here, it is, we are coming up on, that's about, halfway through the month, so about 4:15, we're looking at a potential pivot point 2, so it might go up and then, kind of push down at that point. So, so we will see how this all turns out. But either way, really impressive move from the lows, right? Took out this, as you can see here, this, previous resistance, and then became support and then up. So to me, it seems like it would at least test that support at least another time before going up to the all-time high. So we'll see. So futures at this point indicating a little bit lower. They kind of opened up green. Nasdaq was up 10 points, I think, at one point, and now it's down 3. So so a bit of a move there after hours here, so, or at the beginning on Sunday. Of course, Sunday doesn't really often translate to much, the next day, but we'll keep our eyes on it either way throughout the night and in the morning to see what we come into tomorrow. So that being said, oh goodness, that's a messy looking chart, isn't it? So let's kind of look here. These are some volumetric levels that I had drawn prior off of the daily on the ES, so you can kind of see we basically kind of tagged up that level and it rejected it, and now you can see here just drawn in on the volume profiles you have kind of this level here which broke down, and this is a volumetric level here, this 2893, so it's kind of holding that right now. So we'll see if that holds. If it breaks down, then I think your next drop is probably this 2885, which doesn't look like fun, but it could potentially do that. So it should be pretty interesting. So so that's that. So tonight, let me just make sure everything's going through here on the stream. Let me just check in here. Okay, good. I got folks here. How's everybody doing? Great to see you guys. Thank you for tuning in. So getting prepared for Monday. So all right. So basically today's technical topic, I'm gonna revamp. I'm gonna start talking about, kind of go over a little bit more of an advanced topic. Before we've talked about RSI and MACD before, kind of separately, and we've compared them before. So now let's kind of look a little bit closer at using them, and essentially also looking at drawing trend lines too, using the RSI and the MACD to help find breakout points. Okay, so this is a tool that you can use, and something that I look at too. And also I've had some requests for the newsletter followers to come up with more kind of overnight ideas instead of the quick scalps that we do in the currently the free private Twitter feed that comes along with it. So I'll look to do that, and this is a great way to find setups. Just kind of zooming into the 5-minute chart here. I got the bar chart set up. You could use candlesticks, whatever the case is. I have a moving average pulled up here. This is the exponential 50 moving average. It makes it's a nice smoothing line on this time frame, so you can kind of see that. It's a good one to use on any time frame. Like the 50-day moving average is a great point of reference. So you can zoom down on the lower time frames as well. You can use this. You can go to higher time frames, look for potential breakout areas there, and then kind of see where that might be happening on a larger time frame, and then zoom into the lower time frame to look for individual setups there as well. Okay, so let's zoom in. Let's take a look. I want to show a couple examples here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Google. I'd already drawn the trend lines on this a little bit earlier, so they may be popping up. Give me 1 second for this to load. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove this trend line here, and then we can go back and look at it. So just remove, we'll draw it again. Okay, so what we want to do, the purpose of using this, and the title of it is Day Trading Using RSI and MACD, right, for momentum breaks. Okay, so the real thing is when you're staring at a chart, right, intraday, and it's just not getting over a level or below a level, right? You want to trade a breakout, and I've done a video in the past saying like why breakouts don't work, right? And they do work, right? But you just have to catch it, right? That's the hard part. Is like, you can see here, okay, this is resistance, right? And then it comes back up, okay, it's got resistance again. Oh, but this broke that level right here, but oh, it's coming back down again, right? And then here, oh, it really broke. This is the next day, right? It gapped above it. Oh, it really rejected it, right? And then it's coming back in. This time it's going to break. Oh, no, it comes back, right? Because what happens, right? You have professional traders that sit up at these levels, right? So here it's established itself as a resistance point. So when it comes back on, what are the pros doing? They're shorting right there, right? They're shorting right at you. Boom, 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 right? So that's why it's really tough. And algos do it too. I mean, they pick up on it as well. So what we do is to actually catch these breaks is we use our RSI and our MACD, right, to help do that. So one key thing here, so this looked like it was really going to break out at this point. It didn't do it, right? So then it consolidated again. So why was this one the break on Google, right? That ended up going from 1200 to 1220 over the course of, I don't know, less than 24 hours, right? So there's a swing trade idea, right, overnight. And in fact, it gapped up, pretty high. It gapped and then pushed pretty well. This was back on April 2nd to April 3rd, right? Obviously, April 3rd was a big gap day too for the rest of the market. But what was it about this? What could we find, potentially in our chart, to find where that this breakout was going to be, pretty decent. Okay. Well, nobody ever knows for sure, right? We've talked about that before. But one thing we can do is use the RSI and MACD to our benefit. Okay. So what I've done is, this is the first time. Normally, you guys know that I like to use just the default stuff that's in Thinkorswim or that comes with the charts, just because it's easy. Just go with what you got, right? But here, this really helps because what happens is the default is 70 and minus 30 for the 70 and 30 for the breakout. For the overbought and oversold areas, right? So what I did is you don't have to do this, but I just went in, I customized it. You just right-click on it, you edit the study, and then you just change it from 70-30 to 60-40. Okay, it just is a visual kind of guide, right? So because if you just go 70-40, it gets that oversold and overbought area. It makes it just super significant. You can't really trade it, right? So at this point, you want to use this as your breakout point, right? And so what you do is you draw your trend lines on the RSI. So I'm just going to go to a trend line here. I'm going to click, at this peak here, right? And here we are. You get just what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the break, right? So we just kind of draw a general trend line here, and so that would be the this is kind of one of the key areas. So this looks good initially, right? And so here's your first potential break here. And then the only reason that you don't take this one, because it comes right to the area, is that, yeah, it broke on the RSI, but you use your MACD for confirmation. So you draw your line on the MACD. You're not at, kind of a breakout line here, right? You're down here, and you're still below the 0 point on the MACD, okay? So although it did cross over, that is a potential bullish move, and it did move, essentially for a scalp here. It never broke over the 0 line, okay? And so and it didn't break the trend line either, right? So what you want to do is find confirmation on those. So that was not a move to take, and look what it did. It came back down after that. So next, you activate this trend line, boom, move it here. Now, what do we see? Okay, so we have a trend line break here. I'm gonna zoom in on the MACD. Okay, so we have the trend line break here. Essentially, we go right below here, the 0 line on the MACD, and then it breaks to the upside right here. Finally, is a break. It could have gone here, but then it was delayed. By then, it had already moved, right? So here, this is your line. This is your line in the sand. So 1235. So if you come up here to 1235, boom, you have this push up, right? You're still over the 0 line on the MACD. You've broken out here on the RSI, and then now you've gone over the 60 line, right? So now you're getting into that breakout zone, right? And then boom, it corresponds right here on the Google, right, with a push to the upside, and it ended up being good as an overnight trade for basically almost 20 points. So just to kind of show you guys, this was last week. So if we go to the Friday options, so .Google 190405, and then we'll do the calls, and let's just say we wanted a 10-point move. Off of that, we went out of the money. So we say we did the 1210s. So what basically would happen? What I say was 1230 or so when we broke. Okay, so let's go back here. So where were we? 12. There we go. 4.2 right here. So about 1230 or so. Okay, so we would have got in somewhere around $4. Okay. And these ended up actually doing pretty well for the rest of the day. So they're up $4.95, $5, right? So, I mean, you can take your profits here at the end of the day if you want to. You're up at $6. So from $4 to $6, which is great. And then, but the next day, it pushed up all the way right there after the open to $9, right? So just a double, just to hold overnight. Then it ended up pulling back, but actually pulled back pretty decently, right? It only pulled back to $6. So you're still in the profit area. So you could have kept your stop at profit, and then it pushed, right? Then it went all the way up to $13, $14, okay? So almost a 4x trade on that one, just using that as a just using that tool of combining the RSI and the MACD to find momentum breaks, okay? So just to summarize what to look for, and you guys can start looking for these kind of anywhere. They don't pop up every day, right? So the key is, I think, the easiest way to find it, so let's just kind of review, okay? So, and you can do it for breakdowns as well, but here, just do the opposite, right? So here, you have the you have a point, a resistance area, right? So you're looking for a breakout of that resistance area. So when it's, I mean, look how many times it tagged it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was the 7th break that finally worked, right? So instead of getting chopped up all in that stuff, I mean, it braked eventually if you believed it was going to break, right? But, so that was basically the one that worked, right? And so what you do is, the best thing to do is for potential breaks is first look for the break, a potential break of the MACD 0 line, right? And then draw your corresponding RSI trend lines, and then look for the break of the trend line corresponding with a break of the 0 line here. So, and then you kind of want to get it here where it pushes above, kind of 60 as well. So, a little bit tricky here in this area. Obviously, it tried to do, let's say we were down here, right? Because technically this was a break here. We just didn't quite get above, right, on the MACD here. So, it gets a little granular there. I admit it. It does. So, and this one could have potentially been tricky, right? Because it looked like you had a nice break coming, and then it came back in, but really fully. This one was the ultimate because the break was closer to the 60 line, right? So these steep ones here make it a little bit rough. So I mean, for instance, I'm trying to think like here, this was overnight, so this would have been pretty tough. A couple of these are a little bit challenging. So here, it wasn't close enough to the 60, right? So if you took it here, this is a really steep line on the RSI. Right, really steep, and it broke, well below the 60. Okay, so you did get a move here, right? It broke here and broke the MACD, right? So you got a little bit of a scalp play on this, but it wasn't close enough to get through this zone, the 60 zone. Okay, so that's the other kicker. Okay, so point of resistance, trend line that is close. The slope isn't super steep, and and you're near the 60 line, and you get a break of the 0 line on the MACD, and then look for follow through on that. So this is a technique. It's another one you can add, a little more advanced using the MACD and RSI, and hopefully y'all find that helpful when day trading a little bit to try to find breakouts or breakdowns. For the breakdowns, you basically do the same thing here, right? You look for a break of a trend line that somewhat corresponds to a low here, and then you would look for a break here as well. So this is pretty close to the zone, but you could see it didn't quite get below 0 when the RSI broke. So you got a little bit of a scalp here to the downside, right? But no follow through. So it's tough to find lined up, but when it happens, you get these nice follow through moves. So something to look out for. It gets granular, but at least you're watching this instead of over trading, right? So that's one thing to look at as well. So hopefully you guys found that helpful at this point. If anybody has any questions or chart requests, please put those in the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can, hopefully before 10 o'clock, so everybody can get a good night's sleep to start the new week. I'd like to say hello, everybody, again. Thanks for all new subscribers. Before I jump in, I did have a special request earlier through the direct message system. So I've got two I'm going to jump on real quick. So the first is for Bruce. So the first is Hess. So let me go to see what Hess is up to. So we got a little oil action here. Here's your daily. I mean, it's looking, generally pretty bullish, right? So so far so good, right? So if we do a trend line here from the lows, kind of like up to here, right? Maybe a little bit of a pullback is possible. Maybe it might test like that 60, 50 kind of level, and then you can get a push up to that 68. Let's just take a real quick glance at our, obviously had a very big day on Friday, so just be careful there. You're not overbought on the RSI. It was a pretty big move, but with a move like this, again, I would expect some consolidation. Possibly some, pullback here to that 61, kind of 20 area, and then another potential move to that volumetric level. The weekly gave you a nice hammer bar, right? So you got this kind of cup. It might kind of give you another, maybe an inside week or something like that handle, and then a push to the upside, but things are looking pretty bullish there. Earnings at the end of the month. So that does look interesting. But yeah, big day on Friday, which is pretty impressive. And the other one is Merck. So Merck is looking pretty interesting. Kind of one of the weaker Dow stocks, certainly on Friday. Had a big push to the downside. It's kind of eyeing the 50-day moving average below. So there is a potential to get some follow through on this one if the market is negative tomorrow. So I'm going to put an alert on that. Yeah, so this looks decent short for if the market is weak. Keep in mind your daily Bollinger Band here is at like 80.63. So, I mean, maybe a 50-cent move or something like that. But you've had a couple big range days so far on it. You can kind of see how it likes to handle those too, just by looking back not too long ago. You had 1, 2, 3 pushes down, and look what it did. It kind of gave you that bottoming tail too. So if it behaves anything like that tomorrow, it might kind of tag down that 80 line, 80, 50, and then give you that kind of bottoming tail there, and then kind of work its way back up again. So just keep that in mind. You do have a death cross here too on the 5 and 10 MA, but it also did it here as well. And like I said, and then back up, right? So this one might actually tag the lower Bollinger Band and then back up. So just be careful shorting. It does have that that big move, but it still is a generally in an uptrend, right? Here's your weekly, your Keltner channels, right? Everything's kind of pointing up. Here's kind of a general channel that it's been in. We drew this, I think, not too long ago. So you're about the median line through this. See these red bars here, that channel, and then it could potentially push to the downside. So if it did get that follow through again, it might go as far as 77, 78. And then move back up. So just a couple things to take a look at. So, but definitely shows some relative weakness on Friday. Okay, good. So Harvey, what's going on? Good to see you, man. NetFry, what's going on? Shirley, how are you? Good to see you. NetFry, Walmart, nice. Yeah, so Walmart looking bullish. From what I recall. So here's what I like about Walmart. A couple things. We had a nice hammer week. Okay, so still looking bullish. The 5 is over the 10 MA, so it's looking pretty good. There, let's just take a look at the monthly real quick. Yeah, monthly, so far so good. Setting up a nice bar. Prior month was an inside month as well, so the high there was 149. So if we get over 149, you might see a break to the upside. Yorikiri bar on Friday, so it could be a bullish move here. Might see that possible consolidation there, and then a break if we can get out of this cloud, to get to the that 100 mark, and then that 100.44 is right here, right? So we can break that inside month to the upside. If we can get that, we can get some pivot momentum to the upside. Just kind of looking here. Okay, so daily, and then just real quick, this is a kind of an Elliott Wave. Keep in mind too, so here we had this kind of wave 5 push up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upside, and then we have this kind of zigzag correction to the downside. So here I have this triangle. It does look like a 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4 overlaps the 1, but keep in mind, thanks to Paul just kind of pointing this out, this would be more of a an ascending diagonal, right? Which then can allow the 4 to overlap the 1. Or we could relabel it and just be like 1, 2, and then a sub 1, 2 of 3 to the upside. So it's either a 5 or a 3 potential to the upside. So to me, Walmart is looking really bullish. So SMDC 4S, what's going on? Happy days. That's right. Nudie Poo. Yeah, let's take a look at AU and JAGX. So AU. Good to see you guys. Hope everybody is getting ready for tomorrow. Okay, so AU. Let's take a look. Looking interesting. So we have our pitchfork that we had drawn prior here, right? It worked its way up, hit the top, hit the median line, up, median line, back up, overshoot, undershoot, back, and now it's undershooting again. So to me, that's showing some weakness. My guess is that, if I sort of have that, if the market gets weak, like I'm thinking, and kind of corrects a little bit, it might push up here to this kind of 14 level. If it retests this, kind of pitchfork level, and fails, then you might be starting to look to the downside, right? So you've got some support down here, volumetric support here. You've got potential head and shoulders, kind of working. So if it breaks, through these pivots here to the downside, it could get some some movement to the downside. Did have a big volume day recently, so that is interesting. But I will draw here just a trigger line off of the pitchfork line, if it'll let me. There and there. Okay, so if it does come down, this is a potential resistance support area, this 1251. Now, if it breaks down there, that's your get out sign, right? And then if you kind of draw like a little neckline here too on this head and shoulder type thing, you kind of have some confluence there. So if it kind of gets through this under 12. Just be careful in this area. Now, if it holds it as support, right, then you might get another push back up into the pitchfork area. JAGX. Jaguar Health. Let's see. It's way down there. Can you guys see that? Well, just looking at it, looks like it's got a lot of volume that has come in recently. Let's see. That is interesting. Wow. Millions of people. Zoom in, guys. Where are we? Here we are. Okay. So looks really interesting. You do have an interesting triangle shape pattern going on here, right? So, lots of, kind of consolidation into a triangle. So look for a break, right, one way or the other. Sometimes a break to the downside can be an undershoot and then a push to the upside, sort of like that Walmart triangle. Then you might get to that 0.629, kind of area. If we break through here, the 629, then you got a gap here, and then it could potentially work its way back up. So definitely getting some volume coming in too. So that does look very interesting. Nice one. Chris, what's going on? Yeah, let's see. FIT, F, and EA, of course. Let's take a look. So FIT. Yeah, it's amazing that these stocks like Fitbit's like $5 and they actually make like really cool stuff. You get like I know it's all valuation and all that stuff, but it just seems like somebody that makes some really cool products would be more valuable. But I guess somebody might buy them out one of these days and then it'll go spiking. But right now it's just kind of chopping, right? Pretty much through like kind of these volumetric zones, right? Earnings are starting to look good for it, so that's good. And then it is holding this volumetric area. This is kind of something that you might want to look to at combining, like the MACD on it as well, off of the daily. So this volumetric line needs to break. So let's go. Let me just add the MACD on here real quick for you. Just kind of do a follow because it does look interesting that it's holding that line. And let's see if there's anything setting up to show. Be something we talked about today. Oh dear. Where'd it go? So you do a MACD curling over. Here's your 60 line here. So just keep an eye out for that. Really, honestly, you've got kind of this downward trend line area, which looks pretty interesting. You're about to possibly cross over the one, right? Kind of did it last time, but I mean, just based on these projections, right? It doesn't seem like it would be crossing over anywhere in a while, right? So just something to keep an eye on. Just something to keep an eye on that. So good stuff. Let me remove. I'll just keep MACD up there if it doesn't bother anybody. So I don't have to remove it. Okay, cool. And let's look at F. I think I heard some sort of news the other day that I think they got a spike. I think they're going to be, was it them or was it, they had this nice break out of this consolidation zone, which is interesting, right? How news comes out when this happens. Let me see. It's like it's gearing up for the news, right? So did they say something? Did they announce something about doing more electric cars? I thought somebody said they were gonna do tons of more electric cars, and compete with Tesla. I don't know. I can't really see anything jumping up here, but it was cut to reduce. Whatever it was, it got some move. They were downgraded, but might have been just a way for them to get back in. But I like that it broke out of this triangle. So just look, maybe possible retest of that at some point. But then it's got to get through 10, right? It's got to get through $10, and once it gets back through 10, it could work its way back up. And then EA, it's been hot on Twitter, right? So looking pretty interesting. Just kind of holding a couple of these. We have this channel drawn here. Kind of larger, trend line channel. So kind of broke down here, came out, triangle, break up. Now it's kind of holding this channel line here. Now if it can get through that, right, then I think you can see some more potential movement to the upside. So if it can get over 101, right, you might see 107, right, and then if it can hold that, then it might work its way a little bit higher. So those are those. Pritesh, what's going on, man? Yep, Intel and Derm, sure. INTC. So INTC, I was stalking this one too. I liked it, potentially for the newsletter. I like the just looking at the MACD, I like that crossover there. It's just a little bit, still a little bit extended for me to take a long on it, but I would like to see another pullback to look for an entry. So that's kind of just what I'm looking at. If it goes, it's it's going to go without me. But I do like how it's getting pretty close to that 57 level for a potential break again. Potential cup and handle maybe setting up. So just just kind of look at those things for appearing in the future. So cup and handle, pause, right, and then maybe a break. So let's keep an eye out there. And then Derm. Nice. Nice push to the upside. Obviously some news. Buy rating, price target lifted, direct to customer campaign, FDA. Okay, so it got some pretty good news there. Some nice volume came in. So just look to see how it holds this level. This high of this gap up here is 1491, so that's kind of like your area. So if you can get over 15, you might start getting more push to the upside. It's got a gap to fill, it's got a volumetric level up there, so I'm kind of looking at that at this point. So yeah, it's holding that gap really well, and it looks like it's trying to bust out of it, so it could give you an opportunity there. Good. Nikolai, what's going on? Is BABA considered a 4x inside day? Let's take a look. So when I do inside days, let me go to the candlesticks. So is BABA considered 4 times inside day? No. So I think I know what you're saying, because you're thinking the price. So what I try to do is, so this I would consider an inside day, right? So you have this bar right here, and this the high and the low of the bar were contained within this bar. So if I look for a double inside day, right? The next bar would be contained by this bar, right? Sort of like kind of like Russian dolls, right? And so so even though kind of the range is with a lot of the ranges has been a range here, a range like the close, has been within this mother bar, right? And you can still use that as a reference, right? So a breakout there of 185.45 could push it higher. It's just different strategies are used to kind of trade that, right? So so that's kind of how I look at it. But yeah, it is in a nice consolidation area. It did kind of pull back and then gave a nice push up after that. So weekly, wow, nice, really cool hammer. Northern doji, almost a dragonfly doji on that. So it looks pretty good. Kind of had this downward channel. It's closed above it too, and it's at a reaction line as well. So it might get a further push to the upside. However we look at it, we slice it and dice it. I think a break of 185.56 could get some upside momentum. So patchy, yeah. So those pretty much my thoughts on BABA. It looked like it was going to break down, and it just got through those major lines. So it could potentially get some fall through the upside. So depending on the market, right? So SMDC, we go up, we go down, we don't fool around. That's right. So BABA went up 7 points off the low from last week, and then I know Baidu was incredible. And I was kind of looking at these too, and I think Mike was looking at them as well, and oh, look at that, just beautiful, right? And we've been stalking Baidu for a long time, right? And look, you can even see this triangle that it broke out of, right? I had this drawn here, and the key it was this patience. I think we talked about this the other day too, and the key with this is just patience, right? And just trying to catch that right pullback setup, right? So kind of chopped around in this triangle for a while. Could have gone long here on the break of the triangle. It was 173 all the way up to 181, which is a strong move. And what got me looking at this one too is the RSI being oversold and closing below the lower Bollinger Band on the weekly, which is very rare. It didn't do this since it was 2015. And then it moved up 100 points. So we had this nice breakout bar last week through this consolidation area. And this is just when everybody kind of gave up on it, and then boom, it's going to start getting some interest again. Might put, just continue pushing up to 200. Just phenomenal stuff. Love seeing that. Surely Amazon. Oh, and guys, yeah, you guys probably already saw me tweet this out, but Google. And Nicola here, Google double inside day. Okay, so one of my favorite ones to look at. So here's your mother bar right here, right? Granted, it's upper shadow, lower shadow, but this is contained by that first bar, and this is contained by this bar. So now you have this double inside day. So it really kind of comes down to something of a triangle right here. And so what I'd like to see I'd like to see maybe a gap down and then a push to the upside to reclaim the range. And then, I can't imagine the futures at this point being super high where we gap up and then do the other way. So chances are we pop somewhere in the range, at which point, you kind of zoom in and use the VWAP as your guide and try to look for a break one way or the other. So I would rather see a gap down because the risk reward is so good on that. Yeah, okay, so Shirley, let's take a look. Let's see. Hope you had a great weekend. Okay, so Amazon had a bull flag recently. Pardon me. Okay, here we go. All right, so Amazon bull flag. This was the inside week. This yellow dotted line here. If I just kind of go back and show you, right? So Amazon gave an inside week. It broke that to the upside. We caught this double inside 60 bar in the public Twitter. And then we traded on Friday in the private Twitter too. And it was like the only stock that moved on Friday, and we made some money off of that. Some folks did really well. So that was a nice break to the upside of the inside week up. And so now, now that it's done that, I would imagine it gets some follow through. So, but it is possible, right? It did break from a bull flag, so it kind of came up. So you might see a retest of that inside week high. But again, I think definitely very likely potential pushed higher. SPY. Kind of just similar thoughts. I think short-term tactical, right? Potential gap fill below, and then a move back to all-time highs. XOP. Looking interesting. Pardon me. I know it sounds like it's interesting, right? But you're at one of these kind of resistant zones, right? Like we were just seeing, it's kind of poked its head out of there a little bit. It's kind of looking at the RSI. A little bit of a break here at the 60 potential. Like a little lesson. Continuation move right there, right? So we could get, if we get a little break here, we're already above on the MACD, I guess. It doesn't correspond, but this might be it. This might be the big break on the daily for it. So that looks pretty good. IWM. Yeah, that looks pretty interesting too. Wow, that does look bullish, right? Just doing the stuff that we were just talking about, right? So if you just gotta draw your trend line here, I know it's steep, but it's a little too steep. But there, maybe. So you're right at 60 potential break. Just broke over the 1, right? So I mean, it could launch if it really wanted to. So that looks good. USO, probably similar to XOP, but let's see. Okay, looks like it's settling down here. There we go. Looks like we draw these fib fan lines not too long ago. Broke out of volumetric resistance, and it's kind of floating its way back up. Oh, we struck oil. Awesome. Option smash, what's going on? So stays constant for quick play over a couple of hours. Yeah, so the idea is, I think on today's, so if you go to you can trade them on any time frame. Like you see, I just drew it on the daily. So right, that would go farther. So it depends whatever time frame you're most comfortable trading on. I'm showing the 5 because I'm more of looking for kind of an overnight trade. And then using the 50 as a guide, right? The 50 moving average is exponential moving average is a guide. As as long as we're above it, potentially get some follow through, right? So, to say here, yeah, this actually looks pretty good. So you can kind of see this zone here in the lower time frame. Yeah, you see how we were kind of looking to break out here, resistance, 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 resistance. So then we finally broke, right? And so it's up to you how you trade it. Right, what your goal is. So everything I've been kind of looking at is like, there. So everything I kind of been looking at is the potential to hold overnight. But yeah, you can scalp this for a little bit. So here you have your RSI kind of coming down, or you have this resistance zone. Like I say, are we going to break there? No. We're going to break there? No. We're going to break there? No. We break there? No. We break there? No. We break there? Okay, well, when are we going to break? We're going to break when it finally breaks this trend line to the downside, right? So at our 60 level, right? And, corresponding with a with a break of the MACD over 1. So the MACD over 1 kind of hit here. And so let's see if we were back here, because everything looks better in hindsight, right? So let's say we were trading and we did this. We saw this peak here and we're like, okay, let me draw this here. All right, well, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a break. Of course, this is the open, so it's a little tough to trade that, right? But you did see a break here of the 60 area on the RSI, and you had a break of the MACD, right, going over the 0 line. So in a way, you could have held long, but like you said, this is all day that you're holding, and then it finally broke here. But it was this all happened at the open, so it kind of skews the trade, right? So if we ignore the open, we take that and then we draw this trend line down, and it kind of corresponds here. MACD is positive, right, which is sort of an indication of still bullish, right? It didn't quite cross over the one at the same time, but it is still bullish. And then we got that push to the upside, breaks that trend line, and then that was your move. So from 1305 to 1317. Is that a huge move on the USO? I don't know. I don't trade it too much, but you'd have to have 1,000 shares to make. You'd have to like 10,000 shares or something like that to make what is that? $1,000. So maybe that's worth it or not. I don't know. But you kind of get the idea. So is it going to get some follow through? Maybe. The 50 MA is pointing up, so definitely something to kind of take a look at tomorrow, and then see if it gets kind of like a continued move to the upside. So here you can kind of see. I guess you can kind of say, yeah, this is another open, right? But you had this level that never broke. But you kind of had the RSI come through here. Even here's another one. Here's your resistance. This is not too bad. Then it breaks here, right? You're still over the 50, then just kind of follow it up until you get to up here, where it kind of meets back up with the 50 again, right? And that's your exit. But yeah, so it's a sort of resistance breakout. So however you kind of want to trade it, right? Intraday. So this is from 11:30. I'm sorry if you're here, 11:30. All the way up to, did I say that? 13:30, so 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So a couple hours, but you might get that follow through. So it's definitely something to look at tomorrow too as well. Hopefully that helps. Surely Amazon looks ready to run at last. Yeah, I know, at last. If we don't think about the move from 1300, right? But yeah, I know what you're saying. This is funny to think that we were at 1300 just at Christmas time, and then all the way back up to 1800. Just blows my mind. Blows my mind. Gush. Interesting looking chart. Gonna want to time a breakout on this one too. Looks like it's getting ready, right? If we do a little RSI technique too, right? Potential breakout, right, of a trend line with the MACD crossing over, right? There's your area, there's your zone. You're right at 60. So look at push to the upside. That's your level though. It's got to get over 1302-ish, right? 1306. So if you get to 1307, you might push. Then you can try to swing it, you get to 17, right? And then 26. So yeah, so you have a shot. Everybody's looking at oil, so it's looking pretty bullish here. Let's see. Oh, you got a lot, Shirley. It's getting a little bit late, so I'm going to skip over a few if that's okay. So we'll look at BBBY, MAT, and Microsoft. Okay, so BBBY. Crazy volumetric level at the top. Yeah, nice break, right? So you had your gap up, your break, it's kind of closed above it. So definitely potential follow through there as well. Watch out for earnings on the 10th. Really? Earnings on the 10th? Amazing. Okay, cool. Oh, Mike, first of all, that's right. Thank you for bringing it up first of all. Yeah, that's your Batman pattern, right? Boom, boom, up. To the trade cave. So looking good. Matt and what did I say? Microsoft. Earnings coming up this week. The financials are starting to report this week too, guys. So keep that in mind. Yeah. That's kind of doing its thing, right? So just be careful down here. It might retag that $12 range and then push. Probably supplies to the upside on earnings. And then Microsoft. I like pullbacks in Microsoft if it'll give us a pullback. I got lots of lines on this thing, but here's kind of a recent peak, from the lows, kind of came back down, is retesting it. So definitely a break of 120 could be pretty interesting. I'd love for it to pull back to like 116 for another push to the upside, but Microsoft's just been super bullish recently. So no problem, NetFry, my pleasure. What's up, Prayer Kid? Good to see you. Mike, what's up? Intel, nice. Yeah, we looked at that a little bit earlier. Neo inside week, nice. Thanks, JS. Neo. Let's take a look at that. Ooh, yeah, got a little month right there too. Sorry for all the notes here. That was from the prior newsletter. Yeah, inside week at volumetric support here at this. What is it? 524. So yeah, that's worth actually putting an alert on if it takes that to the upside. Side week up, good. But watch it if it takes it to the downside too, because it could go lower. Option master, no problem, my pleasure. Jay, hello. TQQQ. Wow. Yeah, so isn't that interesting? Okay, yeah, so it's right at the cloud level right here. So just look and see if it holds it as resistance and comes back down, fills its gap, or if it breaks out, breaks through, and then pushes back up. I do like the upper Bollinger Band kind of curling up, and the potential break of the Bollinger Band back through the Keltner and all that stuff. But break the cloud to the upside could be bullish as well. So, but just watch it if it doesn't hold this cloud as resistance and come back in. La Machine Polonaise, what's going on? GDX. Fascinating. We've looked at this before. A bit of a northern doji day, so it's got to get over 2255 to get some more upside movement. Let's go to our bar chart here and just kind of see. We drew a lot of fib fan lines on this, but I like how it's kind of holding this upper fib. And so just watch here inside day, break to the upside potential, and then see if we can get up to 2309. If we can get through 2310. Might get some further move there. SMDS, what I mean is last week Amazon had as much push up until late Friday. Yeah, had much. I know, yeah, exactly. I know, I get you, man. No, totally. I was just playing around. Cool, yeah, Jay, no problem. Awesome, my pleasure. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to all new subscribers to the Positive Trends newsletter. The information on that is in the description tab. So if you guys want to sign up, we got a newsletter out this Sunday with some really cool stock ideas for the coming week. And also new subscribers get free access to the private Twitter where we announce trades and all that cool stuff and some scalp ideas intraday. So everybody have a great night, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Remember your risk first before taking a trade. Stay safe so you can stay in the game. Talk to you later.